Inside Dolphin Prison, the isolated facility few inmates ever leave. Before this story tightens its grip, hit subscribe, drop a like, and leave a comment if you're ready to step inside places most people never see. Dark stories like this don't surface often, and once you enter Dolphin Prison, there's no easy way out. The emergency lights were still flashing when the first response team reached the outer gates. Sirens echoed off concrete walls that had been standing for decades, walls designed to keep secrets in as much as people. Dolphin Prison sat far from major cities, isolated by miles of flat land and silence, a facility built to disappear from public conversation. Officially, it was just another high-security prison. Unofficially, it was where inmates were sent when every other option ran out. The call that night was vague. An inmate missing during count. No alarms triggered. No signs of escape. Inside a prison like Dolphin, that combination didn't make sense, and that's what made it terrifying. Captain Aaron Holt had worked corrections for 23 years, and his instincts told him this wasn't a routine incident. Dolphin Prison ran on precision. Every movement was tracked, every door logged. When an inmate vanished without a trace, it meant one of two things: a system failure or a deliberate cover-up. The missing inmate was Marcus Bell, a quiet lifer with no recent infractions. He had no allies, no enemies, and no reason to attempt the impossible. Bell was housed in one of Dolphin's most restrictive wings, a place where isolation was enforced down to the minute. Inmates there were rarely seen, rarely spoken to, and almost never transferred out. As Holt walked the corridor, he noticed something subtle but wrong. A camera light blinking when it shouldn't. A maintenance log signed off too quickly. Small details, easy to miss, but together they formed a pattern that felt intentional. Investigators were brought in by sunrise, but Dolphin Prison didn't welcome outsiders. Interviews were delayed. Surveillance footage came back corrupted. Guards gave rehearsed answers that sounded cooperative but revealed nothing. It felt less like an investigation and more like a performance. Then came the discovery that shifted everything. In a secured storage area beneath the main housing block, investigators found a sealed door that didn't appear on any official blueprint. It was old, reinforced, and clearly used, but never documented. When questioned, senior staff claimed it was decommissioned years ago. That explanation didn't hold. The lock was new. Records showed that several inmates over the past 10 years had been quietly transferred to Dolphin and never reassigned elsewhere. No release dates. No death records. Just silence. Families filed inquiries and received the same response every time. Inmate housed. Inmate alive. No further information. Marcus Bell's disappearance was no longer an anomaly. It was a pattern. As Holt stood before the sealed door, waiting for authorization to force it open, he realized Dolphin Prison wasn't just isolating inmates from the outside world. It was isolating the truth itself. And when the lock finally clicked, revealing what lay beyond that hidden threshold, it became clear that some prisoners weren't meant to serve time. They were meant to vanish. The door opened into a narrow passage that smelled of dust and cold metal. It wasn't part of any modern expansion. The walls were older than the rest of Dolphin Prison, reinforced concrete poured decades earlier, back when oversight was thinner and records were easier to bury. Captain Holt stepped inside first, his flashlight cutting through the darkness as investigators followed, their footsteps echoing like they didn't belong there. The passage led to a compact underground unit. 6 cells, no windows, no cameras. Only steel doors and manual locks. This wasn't a forgotten storage area. It was a functioning containment wing, deliberately hidden from official records. Inside one cell, a thin mattress lay neatly folded, untouched. In another, markings scratched into the wall, tally marks, dates, fragments of names. Someone had lived here. Possibly many. What chilled Holt wasn't what they saw, but what they didn't. There were no signs of disorder, no struggle, no indication of recent use. Yet maintenance logs showed power draw and ventilation activity as recently as 2 weeks earlier. Someone was keeping this place operational. As news of the discovery spread quietly through administrative channels, pressure arrived just as fast. A state oversight official appeared unannounced, insisting the investigation be paused pending review. Evidence was boxed, sealed, and removed. Interviews were rescheduled indefinitely. Dolphin Prison was closing ranks. Holt refused to stand down. He pulled archive transfer records from before Dolphin went digital. Names surfaced, men rerouted through emergency classifications, marked as administratively isolated. One name appeared again and again in the paperwork: Deputy Warden Ellis Crane. Crane had overseen Dolphin's most restrictive units for nearly 15 years before retiring abruptly. No misconduct charges. No public record of controversy. Tracking Crane wasn't easy. He'd moved off-grid, living quietly in a rural community miles away. When Holt finally reached him, Crane didn't deny anything. He just stared at the wall and said, "You don't understand what that place was built to do." According to Crane, Dolphin Prison had become a solution to a problem no one wanted to acknowledge. Certain inmates, those deemed too disruptive, too influential, or too dangerous even for maximum security, were removed from circulation entirely. Not executed, not released, just erased from the system. The underground wing was never meant to hold inmates long-term. It was a processing point. From there, prisoners were reassigned under new identities, moved between federal facilities, or held indefinitely under sealed authority orders. Paperwork was altered. Digital trails were scrubbed. Families were told nothing. Marcus Bell, Holt realized, had discovered something. Bell had worked kitchen detail briefly, granting him access to maintenance corridors. He'd seen the hidden door. He'd asked questions. And in a place like Dolphin, questions were dangerous. Before Holt could act on Crane's testimony, another development shook the investigation. Marcus Bell's inmate ID number was quietly reassigned in the system to a prisoner housed in another state, one with a different face, a different history, but the same digital fingerprint. Someone was rewriting reality in real time. And if they could do that, Holt knew, then exposing Dolphin Prison wouldn't just cost careers. It could cost lives. Captain Holt knew the moment he accessed the updated database that the system had turned against him. Marcus Bell no longer existed, not officially. His name was gone, replaced by a living inmate hundreds of miles away, a man who had never set foot inside Dolphin Prison. The records were clean, seamless, and final. It was the kind of digital erasure only high-level authority could authorize. Holt took his findings outside the chain of command. He contacted an investigative journalist known for exposing institutional abuse, someone who understood how systems protect themselves. What followed was a tense exchange of documents, burner phones, and late-night meetings in places where surveillance was unlikely. Every step forward felt like walking deeper into danger. Then the warnings began. Holt's access credentials were revoked. Internal Affairs opened a vague inquiry into his conduct. An unmarked car appeared near his home more than once. The message was clear: stop digging. But the journalist published the story anyway. The report didn't accuse Dolphin Prison of illegal killings or sensational crimes. It did something far more damaging. It revealed a pattern: undocumented isolation units, manipulated inmate records, and people who entered the system and never emerged. Families came forward, recognizing details they'd been told to forget. Former staff submitted anonymous statements confirming the existence of black site protocols. The state denied everything. An internal review was announced, then quietly narrowed. Dolphin Prison remained operational, but the underground wing was sealed, this time officially. Deputy Warden Crane disappeared from public view, his final statement released through an attorney, claiming he acted under federal directives. Marcus Bell was never found. Months later, Holt received a single envelope with no return address. Inside was a photo, grainy, taken from a distance. A man stood in a prison yard, older, thinner, but unmistakable. Written on the back were 4 words: "They moved me again." Whether it was Bell or someone meant to look like him, Holt would never know. The system had grown too good at hiding its mistakes. Dolphin Prison still stands today, quiet and unremarkable from the outside. No headlines, no official scandals, just concrete, wire, and silence. And perhaps that's the most unsettling part. Not what was exposed, but what wasn't. Because if a facility like Dolphin can make people disappear without consequence, how many others exist? Before you go, drop a comment and let us know where you're rewatching from. We'd love to hear from you. If stories like this keep you thinking long after the screen goes dark, make sure to like the video. Share it with someone who needs to see it, and subscribe for more investigations into places they don't want you to look.